Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Holocaust education program. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the purpose of the program and some of the history that brings us here. The Holocaust was a dark period in the history of the world. During World War II and before it, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime had deliberately and systematically imprisoned and murdered over 11 million people. The Nazis believed that the German race was superior and that other people, like the Jews, the Gypsies, people with disabilities, and gay and lesbian men and women were inferior, and thus the world needed to be cleansed of them. Because of who they were, 11 million people were murdered. Among these, 6 million Jews. Old and young, mothers and fathers, grandmothers and grandfathers, children were all shot, gassed, burned, sometimes alive, or starved to death simply because of who they were. They had done nothing to deserve their fate. They were not on one or the other side of the conflict. They were not in the path of warring forces. Their only crime was they were born into a certain family. That alone became an automatic death sentence. Entire families, entire villages were killed. When the American-led liberators entered the concentration camps, they could not believe what they saw. Massive gas chambers and crematoria, massive graves that were dug by the prisoners who were then buried in them. Those who were survived were nothing more than skeletons. General Dwight D. Eisenhower was called in from the field to view the death camps. Because it was so unimaginable to human eyes, he issued the following statement, which is now etched on the front entrance to the Holocaust Museum and is actually in the back of your program. The things I saw beggar description. The visual evidence and the verbal testimony of starvation, cruelty, and bestiality were so overwhelming. I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give first-hand evidence of these things, if ever in the future there develops a tendency to charge these allegations as propaganda. His words were prophetic, as some people today deny that the Holocaust ever happened. They claim that it's a made-up story, an exaggerated lie. They're doing exactly what Eisenhower was trying to prevent. So why did the Holocaust happen? How could it have occurred in civilized Europe? And why did no one stop it before it was nearly too late? The Holocaust was not an accident in history. It occurred because individuals, organizations, and governments made choices that not only legalized discrimination, but allowed prejudice, hatred, and ultimately mass murder to occur. Our remembering of this event in modern history is aimed at saving men, women, and children from apathy, if not evil itself. As Pastor Neumuller stated in his speeches urging people against indifference, first they came for the communists, but I did not speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists, but I did not speak out because I wasn't a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, but I did not speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and by that time, there was no one left to speak out for me. At the opening of the Nuremberg trials following World War II, where the Nazis were tried for their war crimes, Robert Jackson, the chief US prosecutor, stated that these Nazi crimes were so calculated and so malignant, so devastating, that civilization cannot tolerate their ever being repeated, because it cannot survive their ever occurring again. Since that time, many memorials have been established around the world to depict the atrocities and remember the victims. Memorial observances are held throughout the country and the world. The purpose of today's program is to honor the victims and the survivors of this horrible time in history. But more than that, it is to educate. It is only through education that we can root out indifference and prevent something like this from happening again. Only by standing up and saying no to intolerance, no to discrimination, and no to injustice can we hope to preserve a morally responsible society. Soon, there will be no survivors left to tell their stories. The next generation will have to learn about the Holocaust from history lessons. The voices of Holocaust deniers will grow louder. We must take the lessons learned today and carry them with us to fight apathy and educate the future generations. Because as a famous quote goes, all that is necessary for triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. Thank you.